My name is Deborah Owen, and I am thrilled to have today Kathy Galford from Virginia. She was last year's Teacher of the Year, and that is a wonderful honor, Kathy, and we're thrilled to have you joining us today.
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Good, good. Can you please tell us a little bit about, I understand that you teach 6th grade English, but if you could tell us a little bit more about what you do and what your day looks like, and we'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Sure. To start with, I'm starting my 26th year of teaching, and I teach 6th grade English at Greenbrier Middle School, and I teach 4 bells every day. I have an inclusion class, which includes special education students and regular. I have a core class, which is considered regular students, but of course none of them are regular. And then I have 2 gifted bells that I teach every day.
Okay.
So I really enjoy it. So we have 4 bells in the morning, then we have a bell called Core Plus, which is a review or enrichment bell, and then the students go to electives, and we have planning and meeting time every day.
Okay, so you have a pretty full schedule then.
Yes, definitely.
So how many students do you have about?
Normally it's around 100 students.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot of kids to keep track of. I know a lot of teachers have the same amount, roughly give or take a few, but it's difficult to keep track of all those kids.
It is. I taught elementary school for 15 years, 5th grade, and I had a class of about 25 students.
Right.
So it's much easier to get to know them and get close to them. So I work really hard with 100 students to try to build those relationships as well. But it is trickier with middle school for sure.
That's true. Building relationships with a lot of students is hard. What have you found works really well for you in terms of really connecting with the kids one-on-one when you've got so many to learn?
Well, just taking every minute of the day that I can, when they're at their locker, stopping and saying hello, standing at my door as they come in every day to greet them, and when they're leaving, and of course circulating around the class whenever possible. And I really enjoy English. It's difficult grading all the essays,
right,
but I enjoy reading their writing. I feel like I really get to know them from their writing, and I can ask them questions about that.
That's
journaling as well, back and forth with them.
That's great. That's great. All right, so what do you love the most about teaching? What are your favorite things?
I just love the fact that I have a chance to affect the future, and that I can build relationships with these students and teach them things, not only academics, but about relating to others that they can take with them throughout life. And when I've run into my former students and they remember something significant from class, that just means the world to me.
Yeah.
And I also love the fact that as a teacher, no 2 days have ever been alike in the last 25 years that I've completed. Each day is a new day, and they're different, and a new group of students, and you just never get bored in this career, that's for sure.
I'm sure. That's great. What are some of the things that drive you crazy, though? Whether it's about kids or teachers or parents, or what are some of the things that kind of really bug you?
Probably the thing right now that is really bothering me the most is the lack of priority in our government, at least in Virginia, for education. It seems like the funding is being cut. In Virginia, we have a lottery, and we were told that all the money from the lottery was going to go into education. But what happened is when the lottery money started coming in, they started pulling other funds that they were giving us. But the public doesn't really realize that. And so we're expected to do more and more and more with less and less, and that's the frustration. I think that education should be a priority in our country and with the state and federal government, and we should get the funding we need so that we can do what's best for our students.
Yeah, I think that's a struggle pretty much everywhere in the country.
Right, it really is right now.
Trying to figure out how to help people set priorities and keeping education as one of the top priorities. That's something that we're all struggling with.
Right. And then just the lack of respect that society seems to have for teachers and education as a whole is really sad to me, because to me it's the most significant career in the world. But people don't seem to show a lot of respect to that, and I think it's so important for teachers and good teachers to be celebrated. So I've been so honored this year. It's been wonderful, but there are so many more outstanding teachers who should be celebrated, and they should be compensated for their hard work. Yeah. And I just wish we could hold teaching up to some of the other standards, like people in the medical field and things like that.
Right. Okay, thank you for sharing that with us.
Sure.
Let's turn to the students for a minute. What are the things that you find that work best for motivating your students? These 6th grade kids in English class, what are some of the things what are the tips and tricks that you would share with other teachers?
Well, I think my philosophy of education is that we need to make it relevant.
Right.
Relevant for what they need, but also relevant to them, the way they learn. And I feel that if we make our lessons engaging and interesting to the students, they're going to be more focused and excited about what you're learning. So also making it relevant to the way their brains learn. They need to be up and moving and pairing and sharing and processing what they're learning in class instead of just sitting there and getting and the teacher talking. I think an active classroom is very important.
Right.
And transitioning from one activity to another, because having students sit still for 50 minutes straight is just not going to work for them.
Right.
So I play music in my classroom, and they use the music during transition times, and I have them get up and meet with a partner. Instead of me calling out a question and talking to one student, the two of us, I'll say, everyone get up and meet a partner and go over last night's homework, or I'll post questions up on the smartboard, and I can walk around and circulate and listen to them and see what they're saying, and I know who needs help. This way they're all engaged instead of just me and one or two students.
Right, right. That's
and
great.
Also of collaboration with the students, offering them choices in their learning. Instead of giving them one activity to show that they've mastered something, let them choose the way they'd like to show that. Well,
what are some of your favorite projects that you have found work really well for motivating the kids?
One example that comes to mind is, students, sixth graders especially, don't love writing.
Yeah.
When you say, we're going to write a descriptive essay today, you might go, oh. But I always do an activity where we make lollipops. And they take notes using their five senses while they're cooking, and as they harden, they walk around the room and they write on charts and graphs about their five senses, and they use similes and metaphors to describe them. And if you get them excited at the beginning, then they're ready to write that and describe.
Right.
Another example is using technology. Last year, for example, we were learning about folktales, and I wanted the students to write them. And some of my lowest students, I knew I was not going to get them excited, but I turned it into a technology project, and they made photo story fables with pictures and sound and music. And they had to write the fable on their storyboard, but because it was a different way to do it and was exciting to them, you wouldn't believe how wonderful their stories were. If I had just said, get out a piece of paper and write a fable, they wouldn't have been excited about it. So those are just some examples.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. It's important for us to share our best ideas because that's how we learn. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Collaboration among teachers is key.
Yeah.
Wonderful today with all the ideas that you can find on Pinterest and so many websites. And we at our school we plan together. We have team meetings and we share everything. That's so important.
Have you found a big difference in terms of preparation for those kinds of activities between, say, fifth graders and sixth graders? I know there's not a big age difference, but one is considered elementary and one is considered middle school, and so the expectations are different. Have you handled them differently?
I think the level's a little bit higher, but there's not a huge difference between fifth graders and sixth graders. In some ways, when they're in fifth grade, they're the leaders of the school, and then they come to sixth grade, and now they're the newbies at the school, and so at the beginning of the year, they're still, they need a little bit of help along the way, but definitely trying to give them a little bit higher level each year.
Yeah, yeah. That's great. Thank you.
Sure.
One of the things that you wrote to me at one point that I really loved in the learning from your own mistakes is you wrote, Q-tip, quit taking it personally. And, I think that's a great motto for lots of people to remember is that, we all make mistakes and it's totally normal and I think a lot of teachers feel like they have to get it perfect the first time. And I think that's an important thing for us to remember is we're going to make mistakes and don't take it personally.
We're all lifetime learners. There's a wonderful book called Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck, and it's talked about the growth mindset.
Right.
And how we need to teach our students and we ourselves need to realize that mistakes and failures are opportunities for growth. And that Q-tip statement was actually another teacher friend taught me that. And I remember early in my career, everything that went wrong, I would just take it so personally and, I'm not doing my job well. And you do realize, hey, we're all growing together, and it's good to let the students see, hey, that lesson didn't work well. How can we make that better next time?
Right. I actually just wrote a series of articles on Dweck's book, Mindset. Yeah, yeah. It's a game changer, I think. So
Yes.
I've already talked to my principal about being able to talk to our staff about it this year, and he's agreed. So yeah, it's an amazing concept to be able to have that growth mindset instead of feeling like you have to be able to do it all perfect the first time.
Right, and I love her suggestion of praising students for their effort instead of on their achievement, because this day and age it's so much about, is it an A? Is it an A? Well,
Yes.
did you learn something? That's the important thing. And how hard did you work on this? So I
Yeah.
really do love her whole philosophy.
Yeah, great. Thank you. That segues perfectly into a lot of the work I've been doing already, so
Right?
that's great.
Perfect.
Um, Tell us a little bit about your librarian collaboration. Since I'm a librarian, I'm always looking to see how how other teachers work with their librarians. You mentioned something about a book talk movie using photo story, but if there's anything that you can share with us about your work with your librarian, I'd love to hear it.
We have a wonderful librarian at our school. Her name is Kathy Doran, and she is there for us for whatever we need.
Hmm.
As I said, the sixth grade teachers, there are three of us on the sixth grade, and we collaborate together. And whenever we need nonfiction books, there's a big push these days for more nonfiction and instruction. So one example I'm thinking of is we had a theme that we were studying about survival, and we decided we wanted to take the kids into the library to research natural disasters. She pulled every book that she had, and she located websites for us, and the kids did a wonderful research project, and they came up with posters and pamphlets. That's just one example. She always starts the year doing lessons about using keywords and how to research, and being able to decide which websites are good sites to use or not. And plagiarism, she teaches them about that, because at a young age they really don't understand a lot of that. They want to go to a website, copy and paste. So she starts with that, but then throughout our units, she's always there as a resource, and it's wonderful. And she is the one that you mentioned earlier. I wasn't really good with photo story yet, and she had taken a class on it. And so we together collaborated, and she worked with me and came into the computer lab with me, and together we taught the kids how to do photo stories. She showed them samples, and they created these wonderful book talk movies with a series of pictures and music in the background and narration, and then she could use them to share with other students throughout the school on the morning announcements.
Oh, great.
So it was really great.
That's a great project. That's
Yeah.
really good. I'm going to have to go check out Photo Story now.
Yes,
Thank you
yes.
for sharing that.
Sure.
So I asked you about trends, and you indicated that you particularly like 21st century skills, which, for people who don't know, that's collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, and problem solving. So yeah, those are really important. Are there do you have anything to say in particular to add about that, or are there other kind of educational, oh, you mentioned brain-based learning as well?
Right. I'm like I said, I'm big into that because it's so important to teach students the way they learn.
Mm-hmm.
And they do at this age, especially need to be up and moving and communicating with others, and that it goes with the 21st century skills.
Right.
And as we've all heard, the students today are preparing for jobs that we don't even know exist yet. So companies are looking for the creativity and being able to problem solve. So doing that within the classroom is really helpful for the students, and they enjoy it. Like I said, it makes it relevant to them.
Right, right.
And one example of, had the students read stories, and they think they're going to have a test on the story, and they come in expecting a multiple choice test. And once last year, I gave them a big bag full of just random art supplies and put them in groups, and I said, okay, you have 25 minutes to create something that demonstrates your comprehension of the story, and you're going to have to present it to the class. And at first they look at you, because students aren't trained to think on their own, but then they get excited about it, and you would be amazed at what they come up with. And some of the lower students who wouldn't perform well on the multiple choice type of test can really get in there and produce some outstanding creative work. So that's just an example of that collaboration and problem solving and working together.
That's a terrific assessment. I love that.
Thank you. I think it needs to be varied. It needs to be a collection of all different types of assessments, not just the pencil and paper.
Right,
So,
right.
portfolio approach.
That particular assignment reminds me a little bit of Destination Imagination. Are you familiar with that program? My daughter did that many, many years ago, and they would be given, the same kind of thing, a bag full of things, and told to do something with it.
Right.
And that's a really wonderful way to enhance creative problem-solving skills.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, thank you. That's terrific.
Sure.
Let's see. So, what are some of the most important things you think people should know about teaching? You know, if you were to talk to, say, a new teacher or somebody who's in school learning how to be a teacher, or perhaps somebody in industry who's just learning how to be a trainer in their business, what are some of the most important things that you would encourage them to remember when it comes to being a teacher?
Well, number one is just that, like I said earlier, I believe it's the most significant career in the world. It's so important. And that as a teacher, we have an incredible power. We can make a child's day, or we can ruin a child's day by just one little thing we say. And it's so important to build those positive relationships with them. I would also tell new teachers not to give up. You know, it's not an easy job. It's something that you really, really have to spend a lot of time on if you're going to do your best and be dedicated. But it does get easier, and I think we lose a lot of the best teachers in the first few years, and I would like for them to just hang in there. And if they get in a position that they're not maybe suited for, maybe try another grade level. To cling to the positive people that they can learn from, right, instead of those that may be negative, and just to never give up and to have that passion for it, because if you don't love it, then you're not going to be good for the students.
Right, right. All right. Well, that's terrific. I really appreciate you spending some time with us. What have you been, have you had any special things that you've gotten to do as Teacher of the Year this last year? Or?
It's been such a wonderful year. You know, we talked about the growth mindset, and I would say, you know, so many teachers are just as deserving as I am, but for whatever reason this year,
it was your turn.
Right, and I'm a representative of so many wonderful teachers in Virginia, but it's allowed me to grow as a person. I tend to be pretty introverted, but I've gone around and I've been doing speaking engagements. I've spoken to a lot of the pre-service teachers at the colleges, and I've enjoyed that. I've spoken to seasoned teachers and principals and superintendents. I've had wonderful opportunities. I got to go to the White House. And
that's exciting.
Office with the president, met him. We had a wonderful ceremony in the Rose Garden. I got to go to space camp with all the state teachers of the year. We had a wonderful time. Even though I'm an English teacher, we did space shuttle missions and moon missions. I also won a trip to China, a 10-day trip to China, and it was a group of educators from all over the country. It was teachers and principals and superintendents who had also won scholarships, and that was an amazing experience. I went, you know, a 16-hour flight by myself and met these people, so I just feel like I've grown so much. And what I've really learned is the connection of teachers. Teachers in China, teachers all across America, we really are connected. And we all have a desire to do what's best for our students. And it's just been so heartwarming, and it's been a wonderful, incredible year, and I'm just so grateful for it.
That's very exciting. That's very exciting. What was your message, or do you have a consistent message when you have an opportunity to speak to people, or does it kind of depend on the situation?
It changes a little bit, but when I talk to the new teachers, I talk about some of the traits we talked about, what I consider the traits of effective teachers that have sort of remained the same throughout time. You know, good teachers have been good teachers, and even though the buzzwords for education change, the same things about building relationships with your students, making it relevant to them, making your classroom exciting. So I talk about those traits. I also like to talk about collaboration with your students, collaboration with other teachers, and then community involvement. I'm the sponsor of the Builders Club through Kiwanis at my school, and we do community service projects. So I think it's important to get the community involved in education and also get our students out into the community.
Yeah.
And it's a relationship where there's give and take there.
Oh, that's a great opportunity to get the community involved in the school, too.
Right.
I know very often a lot of community service projects are the students going out into the community, but that's a great opportunity for the community to be able to come into the school as well. And we'll have sometimes one-off kinds of things where people will come in and read to small children or whatever, but there's not a lot of consistency.
Right, right. Yeah. And there's a lot of talent out there. A lot of parents, if you ask, can come in and speak to your students about their jobs and careers and things like that. So, you know, you talked about frustrations. I would like to see more community involvement in schools. I'd like to see the school is like the center of the community. That would be great, where the school would be used for community activities, and the students would be out in the community, and we'd be supported by the businesses. So that's an important message that I like to discuss.
That's great. I've been saying some of the same things in my writing too. So yeah, if we can use our voices to be a bit of a megaphone and try to get more people to be aware of it, that would be terrific.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, thank you very much. And it's been wonderful to have an opportunity to chat with you. And
I enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you.